What's up, guys? Josiah here, EasyCaters.com. Just doing a morning review of swing trading signals from yesterday. And I went ahead and narrowed down the list to just you can see here on my watch list, I track all these different time frames, mostly my intraday time frames, but I also have the daily that I track over here to look for volume churn on the daily time frame. And then at the end of the week and end of the month and end of the quarter, then I'll review the bigger time frame churn signals as well. So I've just kind of sorted my list by this column, which is set to the daily time frame, telling me where which stocks have had higher churn yesterday. And so I just wanted to go through some of those signals today. So I've got down here, I've got Nike. So I've got my quarterly time frame, monthly time frame, weekly time frame, and daily time frame charts up here. And you can see here on the daily, so we've pushed up here, had a nice little uptrend, deeper pullback here. We're breaking above that, put in some churn volume at the high as we broke out and put in a new high. Now we've pulled back off of that high and we're putting in this churn volume signal kind of at this prior level where you can see some other volume signals happening. We're retesting this kind of pause we had the other day as well. So this one can be a good trade if we break out, and I haven't, none of these have I looked at the aftermarket and pre-market activity this morning. So I don't know if this moved up already overnight or anything, but that's looking like a decent signal long if we break above the high of that candle. It's the risk to reward is not wonderful because we haven't done a really deep pullback there, but that is kind of the little appearance of a pullback that I like there. PayPal has kind of a similar type setup here. Nice uptrend, shallow pullback, putting in some volume signals near the low of that. If we can get above this red candle, let me just zoom in here because this is pretty zoomed out pretty far. But yeah, you can see, so this is kind of the look that I like to see is, I like to have a little bit of volume at the top, signaling, some resistance, then less volume in the middle, and then churn as we get down to the lows of the pullback. And so if that breaks upward above those highs, then that can be good. Square, I think, had something similar here. No, actually, we're just kind of in this sideways range here. So on the weekly, we've pushed up and we're kind of churning through some resistance here. It looks like drop down and somebody is buying here is what it looks like on this chart. Trying to see if there's anything else. So yeah, it looks like yesterday or day before yesterday we broke above this, if I'm looking at this correctly. High of 88, high of 75. So yeah, we did break through the high of this candle, so it signaled in the long. This was not the best type of setup because the candle range is kind of large, but we're putting in churn today. If we break above that, that could be another good signal to go long. See here on MU, and we've got this kind of steady uptrend where we've had volume hit the lows here of these pullbacks, and nothing there so much, had a little bit there. So this one, we're kind of up at the top of this range now and putting in churn, trying to work through the resistance up here at the top of this range. And you can see here on the weekly, there's this level here that we're kind of, we put in a few months ago, and we sold off from there. Now we came back up and we're kind of just eating through that resistance, and you can see the level over here as well. So it's yet to be determined if we're going to be able to, immediately work through that and pop up to the next target, but it looks like that's what's going on here. And I don't necessarily see a specific trade to take here unless we back off the highs again and put in some volume below that. So this is This is not really that great of a trade, honestly, as far as I can see. Needs a little more time. Halliburton, we're down at the low of this quarterly sell-off. We put in a churn bar so far this quarter. This quarter, of course, is not completed, so this bar could look quite a bit different by the end of the quarter. But on the monthly, we've kind of hit a bottom. We're kind of doing this micro double bottom type of setup, and so these kind of things can be reversals if they break above the high here in the middle. And we had some volume come in to support it at the low of this drop. So it looks like right now we're trying to work our way through this resistance. We have pulled back. I would probably look for one more candle here, a small range candle near the low of this pullback, maybe preferably right into this level here at around 30.25 to look for a long signal there. Let's see, DWDP. So this was a nice little kind of what I like to see with a pullback trade is, get a push up, hit some resistance. You can see there's just a little bit of churn here on the volume indicator, and then we sell back off for a few bars, put in a high churn bar at a prior level, especially like this pause that we had earlier and this base breakout that we did. And so that can be a good signal long. It might take another day or two, but that is Dow DuPont, CTRP, kind of a similar signal there. We've got a breakout above this kind of base or range here that we were making, broke out, kind of curving back, pulling back to that breakout level, and we're putting in churn showing that there's some support there. And so continuation above there could be good. Limited Brands, LB. This one we're just at the low of a range. You can see on the quarterly chart we had a high churn last quarter, high churn on this monthly. We really need to get back above that monthly level right up in here. And for the longer term trades like the quarterly and the monthly, they need to work their way back up to the top of that range to break out to confirm that signal. And so if your bias is that that's going to happen soon, over the next year or so here, several months, then you can get in potentially early on like a weekly or a daily trade. And you can see here there does seem to be a level here that we've put in some volume all through here, and we're putting some volume in on the daily, but we have broken to a new low close down from this. We had a wick down here, but we haven't really had these closes since back in here. So this could either be further breakdown, or this could just be washing some people out before we bounce back up to the top. AZN, looks like we've got some volume coming in the last 3 days down here in this area. I think I mentioned this the other day. So this, we've had some really good volume signals on the weekly chart here, as you can see, and we're kind of just trying to put in some support here. So if we can get a solid close over these 3 candles, this would probably look good back up into here. CMCSA, just a tiny little pullback with some volume. Don't really see a prior level there that we're testing, so I don't know that this is a super good trade, but it could be. This is kind of the look that I want. I prefer maybe a few more bars there. ABBV, I think I mentioned this the other day, and we put in a volume signal here. Then yesterday we also put in a new volume signal as we broke and triggered that one. So this one, okay, so this one is triggering a monthly as well. It looks like it triggered it just yesterday. Oh no, excuse me. Okay, I'm getting my time frames confused here. It triggered it a couple of weeks ago, and we've sold back off to the low of this range, testing that as support again. We've got these nice little support signals here on the daily, showing that somebody is buying at the low of this range. So longer term, you could snatch up a few shares down here and see if we're going to go back up. That's more of a range trade, though, not really a trend trade. So that's not something that I specifically do or know much about. But for you range traders, there's a nice little signal there. Something similar here on Guild. We got some volume coming down at the low of this range. You can see there's a quarterly signal here. And we got kind of these churn bars on the monthly. This one still need, you can maybe pick up some shares longer term on this one, but nothing like a short term trade that I see here. No trend developing or anything like that as far as I can see. This is just like an ideal location where you can see that there's a buyer there, and if you want to kind of front run their position a little bit and get a few shares and see where it goes, then that's a potential trade there for you. So that's the signals I saw from yesterday. Just wanted to kind of go over those, and there's a lot of people, clients on my site that have been trying to learn how to trade the relative volume signals. So I've been doing these videos to kind of introduce people to the concepts, show how I use it, and by way of just settings, there's all kinds of different settings you can use on this indicator. I personally prefer on the longer term charts to use shares per range setting, where we're looking at the relative amount of share volume compared to the range of the candle. And so you can see that setting here. There's all kinds of different settings you can choose. On the intraday charts, you can look at shares per trade or shares per trade divided by the range, settings like that. I started out with this using just raw relative share volume right here. You can also do raw trade volume, but I found that was a little bit more noisy, and I really like the shares per range settings and shares per trade divided by the range setting. Those really seem to clean up the noise a little bit and give some really good support and resistance signals. On the daily time frame and above, I use the moving average setting, and on the intraday settings or intraday charts, I use that time-based average setting. I find that to be a little more accurate. And on the daily and above, I like to use either a kind of an exponential or a whole moving average. Those seem to work pretty well, and these are the thresholds I generally use for the charts. 150, 175 is what I use here sometimes, and then 200. But you can play around with those levels. I just you basically just adjust these when you're getting too much noise. If you have them too low, then you can get too much noise in the chart, and if you have them too high, then you don't get any signals. So you can just adjust those as needed. And each of these kind of has a tooltip to show what each setting does and so forth. But those are the settings that I like to use on my charts. And so hopefully this is helpful, and some of my past customers will be able to see how I trade with this. And I really think volume is a substantial potential edge there for traders, because a lot of people are not actually looking at the volume signals at all. They're just looking at raw price or derivative indicators. And I personally think that we've got a dimension of price and time and so forth, but most people are ignoring the dimension of volume, and that I think can give you a lot more confidence to take these trades. So anyway, hope that helps, and we will talk to you soon. Thanks.